Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we are doing Week 4 quarterback rankings for fantasy football in 2020. We are going to be discussing my top 20 quarterbacks for week number 4 and why I have them ranked where I do for week number 4 of the 2020 fantasy football season. Now, before I get into the video, I'd like to ask that if at any point in this video you end up having a nice chuckle, you end up having a great time, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, because not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win that 2020 fantasy football championship. Also, real quick before I get into these week 4 quarterback rankings, I'd like to give you guys a word from my friends and my sponsor over at OverlayDFS.com. OverlayDFS.com is my favorite place to play daily fantasy football. Now, why is that, Nick? It's because it is the easiest place to play and the simplest. All it is one player versus another player, plus or minus the spread. Now, some games don't have a spread. Other games do have a spread. It's very simple. Which player scores more fantasy points, plus or minus the spread? For instance, here, we have Ezekiel Elliott versus Nick Chubb. Who scores more fantasy points? Ezekiel Elliott minus 3 points or Nick Chubb plus 3 fantasy points? It's so simple that anyone can do it. It's so easy. You guys do all this research to win your weekly matchups in fantasy football. So why not make some additional cash on OverlayDFS.com? Make sure you guys check that out. Link down below in the description. And we are back. Please make sure to check out OverlayDFS.com. Link down below in the description. Let's get right into it. Week 4 quarterback rankings. We begin here with quarterbacks 1 through 12. At number 1, we have Russell Wilson going up against the Miami Dolphins in Miami. This is just screams perfect matchup for Russell Wilson to throw another 7,000 fucking touchdowns. And Russell Wilson has been on fire. He was heating up a couple weeks ago. Now he's on fire mode. If this was NBA Jam, the guy's balling out, throwing a million touchdowns every single game. And this should be no difference up against the Miami Dolphins. That defense, while is okay, is not the best. Russell Wilson has even looked good up against better defenses than the Dolphins this season, so I think Russell Wilson should be able to have a field day out there up against the Miami Dolphins. I got him at quarterback 1. At number 2, we have Dakota Prescott going up against the Cleveland Browns in Jerry's World in Dallas. So Dak Prescott has lit it up multiple games in a row, and he's completely sparking it up here like his name was Snoop Dogg up against the Cleveland Browns. This matchup could be a back and forth affair, and if it's not, it's probably a Cleveland Steamer stomp like style there by Dak Prescott early in the game. So either or way this game could go, I think Dak Prescott's going to put up some big points in this one. At number 3, we have Lamar Jackson going up against the Washington football team in DC. Now here, Lamar Jackson is going to have that bounce back game. Last week, he got absolutely fucked in the ass by Patrick Mahomes and friends at Kansas City, and he is not going to let that happen again here against the Washington football team. They don't have Chase Young here. They really have no chance of stopping Lamar Jackson. I wouldn't be surprised if he was the number 1 quarterback on the week, just due to how pissed off he probably is after getting destroyed last week and everyone making fun of him about how he should really just be a running back in the NFL. At number 4, we have Josh Allen going up against the Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas. Josh Allen is currently on the I Told You So tour around the United States of America because everyone was doubting this guy. Everyone's saying, oh, he can't control that arm. In reality, he can control the arm. He can do everything. And up against the Las Vegas Raiders, I believe this could be a high-scoring affair here. I think the Raiders' offense is pretty underrated, as they should be able to play quite decently up against the Buffalo Bills defense. But I do think Josh Allen will, at the end of the day, overcome that and overcome his load straight into the ass of the Las Vegas Raiders. And Josh Allen should be able to have a pretty solid and hefty matchup here. At number 5, we have Aaron Rodgers going up against the worst defense on this screen and the worst defense in the United States of America right now, the Atlanta Falcons. That defense could not stop you if you were throwing the fucking pigskin, so why would they be able to stop Mr. Discount Double Check Aaron Rodgers? That Atlanta Falcons defense legitimately has no one of name. That defense let 9-inch Nick Foles go 50 inches deep in that ass last week, and I think that the Atlanta Falcons here are going to keep up with the Green Bay Packers due to the fact that their offense is so good. So that'll be even better for Aaron Rodgers because he's going to be having to throw himself back into the game, and the Atlanta Falcons are going to want to throw themselves off of a building after they lose 4 straight here up against the Green Bay Packers. At number 6, we have Kyler Murray, who needs to use a step stool to brush his teeth. He may be super short, but last week the only thing he was doing that was throwing a super high amount of interceptions. But this week up against the Carolina Panthers, I see a bounce back game here. Sure, he looked like shit last week, but but at the end of the day, he still played well for fantasy football, and I think that Kyler Murray may look even better here up against the Panthers and return to the form he had earlier on in the season in week 1 and 2. At number 7, we have Patty Mahomes going up against the New England Deflatriots in this one. This is obviously a tougher matchup for Pat Mahomes because, again, he's playing up against one of the smartest coaches in the NFL, if not the smartest one in my opinion, Billy B. Belichick. But the guy who looks like a walrus, Andy Reid, is going to be able to divulge a game plan to get into that New England defense's pants and, in the end of the night, score and win the game. I think that the Chiefs could win this game. The spread is +7. I know that has nothing to do with fantasy football. -7 for the Chiefs, so the Chiefs are pretty favored in this game, which has me thinking Patrick Mahomes should probably do good if they were favored by 7 points. At number 8, we have Wham Bam Cam Newton going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, while Cam did have a bad game up against the Raiders, it still wasn't all that bad, and I feel like Cam Newton just now is just a locked and loaded top 12 quarterback on a weekly basis, if not a top 10 guy up against the Chiefs. So the defense is pretty good, but this should not be a low-scoring affair. It should not be a snooze fest like we saw from the Baltimore Ravens last week. I expect Cam Newton to be able to crawl back into this one, even if they are down. At number 9, we have Deshaun Watson going up against the Minnesota Vikings. Now, both of these teams are 0-3, and both of these teams have looked dreadful thus far this season. It is going to be a battle of the bottom of the league this week, and I think Deshaun Watson may be able to get the best of that Minnesota Vikings defense. That defense, not the same defense that we've seen in years past, just is not very good at all. I think this is the week where Deshaun Watson goes absolutely crazy and takes a dump right on that Vikings ass. At number 10, we see Matt Ryan going up against the Green Bay Packers. Now, the first 2 weeks of the season, Matt Ryan was looking like the greatest fantasy football pick ever, and last week, Matty Ice, you were looking at it and being like, God damn, why did I pick this man against the Bears? They're not doing anything. They're running the ball. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. Up against the Packers, they are not going to be able to be ahead early in the game. Or at least I don't think so, even though it's been the game script of their first 3 games is going ahead and then going back-to-back Michael Jordan 96-97 with these other teams. I think it could be more like the Dallas game for Mr. Matt Ryan in this game where he puts up a nice point total. If Julio plays, I like that even more for Matt Ryan. Now, my thoughts on Julio right now as I'm recording this, I have no idea if he is going to play. But by Sunday, we may know. But this is a Monday night game, and I like Matty Ice in this one. At number 11, we have Matty Snapback, Matthew Stafford, going up against the New Orleans Saints. Last week, Stafford looked much better than he looked in the first 2 weeks of the season. And here up against the Saints, we may be in for a higher scoring matchup now. I like Stafford even more if Michael Thomas is in this game, because that means that the New Orleans Saints are going to be scoring more points because that offense just didn't look all that good up against the Packers. Now, the reason why they were scoring is because Drew Brees does this little thing called dump it off to fucking Alvin Kamara, the guy with the bull ring nose. All right, that's what he does. And Matthew Stafford in this game with Kenny Golladay back definitely looked better last week, and I expect a big game here up against the New Orleans Saints. To close out the top 12, we have Big Dick Joe, BDJ, going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And in this game, Joe Burrow is going to be the Tiger fucking King yet again and put up a big matchup. This guy has been tearing it up. His offensive line sucks a fat one, and it does not seem to matter for Joe Burrow whether he's running the ball, whether he's heaving the pigskin all over the field, and he definitely has the weapons to do it. AJ Green looks like a used piece of shit. He looks washed up, but the rest of the wide receivers, T. Higgins, and then Tyler Boyd have been looking very good, and I think Joe Burrow's in for a nice one here up against a very bad Jacksonville Jaguars defense where the Gardner Minshew and friends in Jacksonville can push back and forth into the game. Tug of rope effect where Joe Burrow puts up a big one here. Number 12. Now on to quarterbacks 13 through 20. So if you guys have ended up enjoying this video thus far, please make sure to hit that like button with the 1-2 Mayweather, as well as hitting that subscribe button down below if you are new. So quarterbacks 13 through 20. Number 13, we have Jared Goff going up against the New York Football Giants. Now, Jared Goff has looked like super Goff the last couple of weeks. Up against the Buffalo Bills, he crawled down from 28-3 and got them back into the game just to ultimately lose, but a great game out of Jared Goff here up against the New York Football Giants. My only worry is this one gets out of hand fast, where the Rams are just railing the New York Football Giants, and they're saying, Uncle, 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 and you're like, this isn't Alabama. Jared Goff, what the fuck are you doing? Get it? Funny joke right there, but Jared Goff is going to be ramming them like the Rams, like their fucking name says. So I think Jared Goff should be able to put up a pretty solid game here. My worry, though, is again that they're so far ahead that they just stopped throwing the ball early in the game. At number 14, we have the Magic Man, Ryan Fitzmagic, versus the Seattle Seahawks. And I think this one could be closer than many think. And Fitzpatrick looked very good last week up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Sure, I understand that defense is much worse than the Seattle Seahawks, but all the teams up against the Seahawks have been able to put up decent points, and this one could be the highest point total on the week. So I definitely like the Ryan Fitzmagic and the Dolphins here up against the Seattle Seahawks, at least for fantasy football-wise. At number 15, we have young noodle arm or old noodle arm Drew Brees going up against the Detroit Lions. I like him much better than 15. I'd say probably 14. Maybe just move him up one slot if Michael Thomas plays. But at the end of the day, Drew Brees just hasn't looked very good. He got bailed the fuck out by Alvin Kamara last week, and I'm just not sure that happens again here up against the Detroit Lions if Alvin Kamara just runs the ball instead of catches the ball into the end zone. So I think Drew Brees will be fine, but I do worry that this year is definitely a bad year for Mr. Drew Brees. At 16, we have the Minshew Magic Man, Gardner Minshew, going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, before I talked about how this game could be a back-and-forth affair. I do like the other three quarterbacks ahead of him, but that doesn't mean I think Gardner Minshew is going to have a dud of a game. Up against the Dolphins, he just did not look very good, but why was that? Because he's missing his number one option in Baby Chark, Baby Chark. DJ Chark seems to be a vital asset for Gardner Minshew. Without him in that game, he looked like he was in the water with another kind of shark like Jaws, and he was getting his ass eaten all night long, so I did not like Gardner Minshew in that matchup. Well, I did like him beforehand, but after watching it without DJ Chark, it didn't look too good. So if DJ Chark is not in this game up against the Cincinnati Bengals, run for the fucking hills. But if he is in this matchup, I like Gardner Minshew. At number 17, we have Tampa Bay Tom Brady going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, but that is impossible because they are playing the Chargers. So, Tom Brady, this is not the greatest matchup for him, especially without his number one weapon, in my opinion, in Chris Godwin. So, I don't expect Tom Brady to really put up all that big of numbers, and he really hasn't looked all that good aside from week 3 last week in the numbers department up against the Denver Broncos. And we saw last night, even the guy who cried fucking ghosts, Sammy Mano, could play good up against that Denver defense. At number 18, we have Baker the Faker Mayfield, Mr. Commercial Boy, going up against the Dallas Cowboys in Jerry's World. I like this matchup for Baker Mayfield, but I don't believe in Baker Mayfield. I hope he's good because I like the guy. I like the cockiness he has. I like the fact that he just whips his cock out, straight up jerks off on the sideline. I don't know if you guys saw that back when he was in college. He did the jerk off motion to Kansas, and they fucking flipped out about it. Who gives a fuck? Up against the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones getting jerked off probably by some hot masseuse after the game. So Baker Mayfield should be fine in this one, even though that analogy had nothing to do with the game. I think this will be a higher scoring one. I just worry about Baker Mayfield's kind of defects of his game, which is just throwing an interception that he doesn't have to throw at all, and the fact that they could just be running the ball a lot into the end zone. At number 19, we have Teddy B. Teddy throws a belt going up against the Arizona Cardinals in this one. Teddy B has been very good at throwing yards. It's just the touchdowns I worry about with the fact that they like to run it in on the goal line with fat Mike Davis. So I think Teddy Bridgewater will be fine, though. And at number 20, in worst place, we have Carson Wentz going up against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, if you guys watched the Thursday Night Football game, that was actually pretty good between the Broncos and the Jets. You saw that they put this thing on the screen, right? It's like, oh, look at the premier 1 o'clock game. Then they're like, look at the premier 4 o'clock game. Then they're like, look at the premier Monday night game with like Aaron Rodgers. They've got Mahomes on the screen. They've got Lamar on the screen, right? And for the 8 o'clock game, the Sunday night game between Carson Wentz and Nick Mullins, they put fucking Nick Mullins on the screen because that's how bad Carson Wentz has looked. That ginger motherfucker has not played good as well at all, but his wide receivers have died on him again. It's going to be tight end season as well as Greg Ward. So if anyone was to be good in this game, Carson Wentz has to. The Cardinals' defense does not look very good. If Wentz has a bad game here, you cut him. I probably would have cut him already because he has not done shit for your team, and it's very worrisome starting him. That's why I got him ranked as number 20. That's pretty low for a guy that you expected to be a top 10 guy on a weekly basis because he just has not been that. So thank you guys all for watching this video. If you ended up enjoying, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I love you all. Check out overlaydfs.com. Link down below in the description. I'll see you motherfuckers tomorrow with another heater of a video. Good boy.